All right. Welcome to Empowered and Out, the LGBT plus career podcast where we're all about empowering you to thrive as your authentic self in the workplace and beyond. I am Jonathan Barbie, founder of JMB Coaching LLC, and in every episode, we'll dive into the unique challenges and triumphs that come with building a career as an LGBT plus professional. Join us as we explore everything from finding purpose, landing a fulfilling job, to building confidence and resilience in the face of adversity. Whether you're navigating a career change, aiming for leadership, or just looking to create a work life where you can truly be yourself, this podcast is here to support you every step of the way. And then twice a month, I will be bringing on some friends of mine who are fellow coaches in different fields of coaching, where they will share their expertise and showing how you really can be your better self in many ways. And especially with today, my friend Shelly Besancon. Oh my goodness, I butchered it like right away. Sorry, Shelly. Who is a weight loss coach who's on a mission to help women break free from years of dieting frustration and finally lose the weight for the last time. So welcome, Shelly.
Thank you.
So just a little bit about Shelly, and I thank you for sending this over to me. So she's a weight loss coach, as I said, on a mission to help women break free from years of dieting frustration and finally lose the weight for the last time. With a no-nonsense, realistic approach, she teaches women how to simplify weight loss without restrictive meal plans, endless workouts, or feeling deprived. She has created the Simple Weight Loss, the ultimate guide to making weight loss simple and easy. She has helped countless women take back control of their health by focusing on mindful eating, metabolic balance, and sustainable habits that fit their real lives. She's also the host of transformative challenges, courses, and coaching programs designed to make weight loss feel doable and even fun. Her philosophy: weight loss doesn't have to be hard. It's about understanding your body, eating in a way that works for you, and ditching the diet mindset for good. When she's not coaching, you'll find Shelly experimenting with new healthy recipes. Oh, I probably need to get some of those from you. Sharing practical tips in her Facebook group, Women Winning at Weight Loss, and creating funny, relatable content that speaks directly to women who are tired of yo-yo dieting. So I ask you to join Shelly as she shares her best strategies, her real talk, and her expert insights to help you lose weight and feel amazing in your body for life. Again, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here too.
So we met, it's funny, we knew each other online in our group coaching that we were in, and then we got to meet in person last September. We had a really pretty long conversation at the dinner table after eating some pretty good food. I am always kind of impressed with hotels when they actually have, and resorts when they have good food, with actually great dietary options, which I definitely know we had some in our group that were definitely watching the to see what was really good and wasn't good, what they could eat and what they couldn't eat. So I'm excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining the podcast, because this was a work in progress. As we talked off air, you mentioned that it takes anywhere between 3 to 6 months really to get like a podcast up and running. And I think it's been definitely over 3 months since it took me to get everything going. But I think what I like is that I at least had the experience from before of having a podcast. So I knew really what needed to be done. Like, I already had the microphone, I already had the software, I had everything that I needed to do. I just needed to, kick myself to get it going. So I would say now, thankfully, the holiday's over. We're done with all of that. Life's, I would say, back to normal. Why not? Is it really ever normal? I don't know. But so I sent you some questions today, so we're gonna kind of go back and forth, real easy. But I love some of your answers that you gave. But you now get to answer these questions on air with our guest today. So just to start off with, what inspired you to get into coaching in your specific area, and how did you know that this was the right niche for you?
Well, I guess you could say I've always kind of been a coach. I have gone through a lot of life experiences that gave me some really in-depth knowledge of things that I needed to recover from, things that I got to experience that really transformed the direction of my life. But I started with weight loss. My very first diet was in high school.
Oh,
And this was back before the internet, before cell phones, before, we still had landlines, and you had to fill out a order form and write a check and send it in the mail, and you waited for your product to come. Well, it was a box of all these powdered foods, and it was nasty and it was gross, but I was determined to lose the weight. And so I did lose a lot of the weight, but that was the beginning of a whole basically lifetime of yo-yo dieting. It's like you get really excited to lose the weight, you start having progress, you start losing the weight, and then you're like, all right, I did it, and then you go right back to your same habits. But nobody ever teaches you that that is why, and little things of why you need to actually even stop the diet culture. And so over the years, I fluctuated in my weight so much. And I got to the point where I got the heaviest I'd ever been. And I was so disgusted with myself. I didn't like to have my picture taken. And in 2020, my niece passed away. And I was at the funeral and we took a lot of pictures. And then I started going back and looking at all these pictures. And I was like, oh my God, I don't look healthy. I don't look good. I was just not happy with how I looked. I mean, I felt pretty good and I was happy at, seeing all my family, but there was just a disgust that was underlying inside of me. And I'm like, I have to understand better how to do this. And I never want to have to do it again.
mhm.
So I was talking to my stepmom and she was like, I found this great program. She goes, and I've been doing it and I've been successfully losing weight and I feel good and all the stuff that they're teaching you is wonderful. So I researched it and it was the company Noom, and it's a very popular program. And I thought, okay, well, I'll really look into this. And it was Christmas Eve in the middle of the night. I could not sleep. And so I was playing around on my phone in the middle of the night, laying there, just kind of trying to get my head to shut off. Well, I came on across an advertisement. And so I looked up Noom and I started really reading it. Well, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I signed up for Noom. I was like, this is great. So I started the program. I did it for 5 months and I lost 50 pounds. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
this is great. And they teach you all these different little things. But there's also a group of us that we would all go in there and we kind of got to know each other and we really would talk back and forth. And I thought, okay, I lost all the weight. I don't have to come back. And so I canceled the program and so they started sending me advertisements and like, we want you back. We want you back. Here's a discount. Come back, come back. And I'm like, why are you bugging me? If you did your job, I shouldn't have to come back to you. And I thought
Mhm.
that was odd. And I thought, okay, why do you automatically assume that I have to come back? And so what happened is because I left the program, the people that we were in the group with, we set up a separate Facebook account, and every single one of them said they were going back to Noom because they started gaining all the weight back. And I thought, well, that's so weird. Well, I kept it off for a short amount of time. Well, then I started gaining weight back. And I got to the point where I had gained 8 pounds. I'm like, whoa, there's something missing here. What is the missing piece? Because I shouldn't have to go back and gain this weight again.
Mhm.
So I really started to dive in, understand what that missing piece was. And it was shortly after that I decided to go into join the weight loss, or not the weight loss, go into the life coach school. I'm like, I wanted to be someone that helped someone. And I didn't intend on going into weight loss, but after I started really studying what they were teaching, not only in the life coach school, but the research that I started reading into and understanding why we gain it back so fast, I was like so hooked. I was like, this stuff is so fascinating. And I was having so much fun researching. And I'm like, oh my God, did you know that your body does this? And did you know this? And did you know this? And so I just read everything I could get my hands on. And a lot of it is it's emotional. And we're not taught to look at the emotions, especially the emotional part of weight loss. And
Yeah.
that's a huge factor. It's like, why do you need to eat that? It's, and a lot of times, they don't teach any of this in all the weight loss programs. They tell you, you have to eat this and you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. But it's not okay. If you need to cry, go cry. Don't eat a burger. Don't eat a pint of ice cream. That's not how you solve it. And so they don't teach you to rewire those habits. And so I dove into understanding what our body is actually doing when we eat food and the responses of the hormones and the actual digestion process that goes through your entire body. It's like if you understood what your body's actually doing on the inside, and that's when I started to really have a deep understanding. And so then I implemented all the things that I was learning, and then I lost that 8 pounds, and then I lost 15 pounds more. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, this is
Awesome.
awesome. And I found it was easy once you understood those little things. And so then I started really kind of teaching other people. Are like, well, how did you do that? How'd you lose all that weight? And I'm like, well, it was actually really simple. And so my very first time of trying it, I thought, so I wrote up a program and I was like, okay, I'm going to call this Date Your Diet, because you're basically dating and you're getting to know your body again when you learn how to lose weight. And
Hmm.
so I just started writing all this stuff down, and I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to, have dates with ourselves. We're going to really sit and feel, and we're going to, so I started writing it up, and I was telling my stepmom about it. And she was like, oh, I'm really frustrated with Noom, because she was still with Noom. And I said, well, this is what I'm learning. This is what I'm doing. This is what, so I was kind of telling her about my program. And about a couple months later, she's like, she goes, I want to try your program. I'm like, all right, I haven't tested it on anybody yet, and so I'm like, all right, here's the deal. I am the boss. You will listen to me. And, this is what, you have to be willing to try the things that I tell you to do. And she was like, absolutely. Well, she lost 30 pounds doing it with me.
Wow.
And she was just like, oh my gosh, this is the first time that I've been able to get down this low since I have started trying to lose weight. And she has maintained that weight loss for the last several years herself. And so it was like, oh, maybe I'm onto something here, So then I started playing around with more people. And that's kind of when I decided to just make weight loss my main thing, because it's not only just about the food. We use food for comfort. We use food for so many things,
Hmm.
but what the only thing that we should be using food for is fuel. And we don't do that.
Yeah. I, yeah. um, that's awesome. Like, it's so funny because like I know Noom. I remember, and it's kind of funny. Like kept popping up, and that I did my research. I read about it. So it's interesting that I love that you created your own program and you've had the success. Like you've had, especially someone who's a family member that they actually did listen to, because there are times that you're like, you really should probably follow this, and of course they're like, no, 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 or they don't want to they're like, oh, I'll find someone else. I'll find someone else to pay to do this, even though you might be the best option still. So it's kind of that's wow, that's so awesome. That's just so great. And to be able to maintain and keep off the weight, like keeping off the weight, that's huge in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think like you and I were speaking of like off air, like we love coffee. We love our coffee. I will admit I'm trying to find right now healthier alternatives for like creamers, for something to give me that taste, because I have a massive sweet tooth. I 100% got that from my father. It's definitely did not get that from my mom. But I can't, at this point, I have to have something sweet in that taste of it, or I just, because I can't drink coffee plain. I just can't. I might be able to at some point down the road. Like my dad could drink coffee like just black, and I was like, oh. But so going into like with your coaching, like what do you find the most rewarding and most challenging about working with your clients in your niche, especially because you specifically, and definitely feel free to expand on this, you are specifically working with women. So what do you find the most rewarding and the most challenging about that?
Well, one of the main things is a lot of the studies out there. First, I just want to say this, that they do a lot of these studies on weight loss and a lot of the studies on all these things that happen, but they don't do these studies on women. And it's very well, a lot of people don't even know that it's like the reason that they don't use women in a lot of these studies is because we're too hormonal. We fluctuate too much, so they can't get accurate readings. And so they will use castrated mice, and they label them as the women part of the study. But they're
Oh,
men,
wow.
they're male mice. And so they use the research that is for women is different. And so one of the biggest things that I find is like, I try to teach people simple little tweaks. It's like if you can just add 12 more grams a day of fiber to your day, your microbiome is going to thrive on that. Your microbiome feeds off of fiber. If you want a healthy microbiome, nobody talks about that. Everybody's talking about fiber or protein. Get your protein up, get your protein, have a calorie deficit, you have to count your calories. They have all these rules. And it's like, if you understood that when you just add a little bit of fiber, extra fiber to your meal before each meal, your body thrives on that fiber, and the extra fiber will actually grab some of those calories. It literally will grab them and pull them out of your body, never even getting absorbed into your body. And so the benefits of fiber, nobody's talking about.
I
And
didn't know
so,
that.
yeah,
That's
they
huge.
don't.
I've always heard about the protein.
Yeah.
Like it's always about the protein. Add more that add more.
Yeah, but you have to add the fiber. And I just did a 5-day weight loss challenge where I went through from the time you bite your food to it all the way removing out of your body. I went through the entire process of what it is actually doing, where it's like when you first bite into that food, saturated fat is metabolized in your mouth. It is it's, and then there's enzymes that come out and metabolize and process the starch. So what it's in the order you eat your food, it is how well you chew your food. The more you chew your food, the better all your organs will function, the better it will function and move through your body. And so when it gets into your body, which a lot of people do intermittent fasting, but they kind of take it to the point where I can only have one meal a day and I have to do it 48 hours. And, they put it to the extreme. And that's what a lot of people do, is they put these things to the extreme. It's like, just do a simple change. And so one of my gals that is in my group, she implemented, and I tell them, drink a half a cup of chia water right before your meal. And that extra fiber will make wonders for your body. And she started adding the chia water right before every meal. And within probably about a week and a half, she sent me a text and she's like, oh my gosh, she goes, the only thing that I changed is adding chia water before my meals. She goes, I have dropped more weight. She goes, I'm down lower than I have been since my boys were born. Her boys are 2 years old. And so she dropped all this weight. Her PCOS symptoms were like completely way dropped. And then she has been regular. And the only thing she added, it's like, there's simple little changes. Don't make this big drastic change because it's not sustainable. You can't keep it on forever and keep doing it, but you can drink a little cup of chia water right before your meal. It's just like a plain little pudding. You can do it with
Yeah.
other liquids, but just drinking a half a cup of that, which is super easy to make. And that was the only thing that she changed. And then I really, really push drinking water. And the whole point of the challenge was to up your water every single day. How much are you drinking? Are you drinking half your body weight in water? Are you actually drinking water that is being absorbed into your body? Because some people say, oh, I'm drinking so much water and I'm not going to the bathroom. And then they actually write down how much they're drinking. And they're like, oh, I'm only drinking about 30 to 40 ounces a day. And it's like, oh, there's your problem right there. You're not drinking enough water. And looking at the absorption of taking magnesium, if you're not taking magnesium with your water or having enough of magnesium in your body's not even going to absorb that water anyway. It just flushes it right out. So just like a little tip of putting a little bit of sea salt in your water. You don't taste it, but it puts that magnesium in it, and it helps your body, the cells in your body, actually pull it in and absorb it into your body. And so these little things, it's like when people come up and go, oh my God, this little change that you suggested, all this other stuff is happening as a side effect. That is what it's like. Oh my God. And I'm in there just having a party. I'm like, this is awesome. And they're just like, okay, you're a little weird. And I'm like, I know, but it is so cool because that's all you need is that
It's
little.
funny how small just adding something like chia water, like it's such a tiny thing, but it's making such a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like in that such a short period of time. Like that's incredible. And it's so funny that it's not something that's probably very hugely publicized. It's like that's something that's so simple you could do. I mean, I've heard drinking water before a meal does help, and I don't know if that does help or not. It probably doesn't, and according to what you're shaking your head, so I'm gonna say that.
It actually dilutes the stomach acid in your body. So it
Ah,
slows down your digestion if you drink water before a meal. It might make
interesting.
you temporarily feel fuller,
Mm-hmm.
but it does dilute the stomach acid in your body. It's not like it's a bad thing to do. It's not something that's like, oh my God, don't do this. But
Yeah,
it does dilute the stomach acid, and you can add more stomach acid to help that hydrochloric acid that is naturally released in your body. But the thing is that when hydrochloric acid is released into your body, you also need a protective coating of mucus that coats your stomach first. And that comes from drinking enough water. It is 99% water, and it needs that water to be able to coat your stomach to make that mucus to protect it from the acid. So you don't get those, side effects from having the acid actually burn your stomach. And so one thing that helps with that also is having fiber before your meal.
I
And
love
it
that.
helps coat the meal your stomach, and protect it. So if you were to drink 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with a half a cup of water, and drink that before your meal, I do that, and I add a tablespoon of lemon juice, and I put about 1/4 a teaspoon of cayenne pepper in it, and your stomach loves that. It actually
Hmm.
kicks up your metabolism. It helps more hydrochloric acid into your stomach so you can digest things faster. And a funny fact that a lot of people don't know is protein is the only thing that is digested in your stomach.
Oh,
Everything else, the nutrients come out in your small intestines.
interesting. I did not know that. That's
Yeah.
very wow.
And the thing
Um,
is, what's really cool is if you don't have enough fiber in your diet, it never makes it into your colon all the way down into your small intestine, make it all the way down I think it's like 3/4 of the way down into your small intestine. There is this little thing called I think it's a iliac valve. And when they discovered this, it is actually something that with the fiber content, once it gets to that point in your small intestine, It's like a button that says, hey, you're still full. We're still processing food. Even though your stomach could be empty and it's running through your small intestines, when it hits that valve, it's your body's way of saying, no more food. Please don't, we're down here working. We have to finish this job. And that is just at a full factor telling you, stop eating. We don't need more fuel. And a lot of times with the processed foods that we eat and lack of fiber, it never even makes it down there because there's no
Wow.
fiber because it's automatically absorbed and disposed of and taken care of before it even gets to that point. So there was researchers, which this blows my mind, years ago, they thought that they would be really smart and they would hack our bodies. And that was where the first bariatric surgery came about, where they cut half of your intestines, your small intestines out, and took that part of your body where their full factor, and they hooked it up closer to your stomach. So you have that
Oh,
full factor first. Well, there was a
yeah.
lot of side effects. And of course, that one was a big, huge fail because there was a lot of liver scarring. And it's like nature knows best. Our bodies know what to do. So
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm putting you on the spot because you said you had to think about this. So here you go. How do you see the coaching industry evolving, especially for new or unconventional niches?
oh yeah, I did have to think about that one. And I don't know if I even really have an answer yet because coaches, number one, are needed. And it is
Oh,
becoming
100%. Yeah.
it's becoming more apparent every day that people need to have a coach because just even going in some of the weight loss groups and just even any of the groups and just talking to people, they really don't know any of this stuff because,
Yeah.
you know, our attention span, we have to get someone's attention in like 3.5 seconds. And if you don't get their attention, you've lost them. And we're our attention span just in general is diminished. And to have a coach go in there and go, okay, come on, come back to me, come back to me. I need you to focus. I need you to stay attention on something. But even just, in high school and in sports, you don't know what you're doing wrong. You think you're doing something really awesome and you're doing really good. And then the coach is saying, no, move your arm this way, do this, and just being able to see what they are doing and guiding them in that way. And I just think it's even more important because with our attention span, we don't have attention to stay on something long enough to learn it anymore. And a coach can help you do that, I think.
I mean, I 100% agree with you because, and we'll go into this a little bit more in the next question, but I mean, I was an athlete, I was a swimmer. I would be nothing without my coaches. I mean, that I've had, that I had. I mean, they helped me perfect my strokes. They helped me, to this day I can still get into a pool and swim no problem because of the techniques and what I learned. I mean, I had the fortunate opportunity to compete. It was called the Corporate Challenge. It was when I lived in Kansas City before I moved to Denver area, and it was a bunch of different corporations that got together, and we competed in different athletic events. And because of my teachings from my coach in high school, actually my entire swimming career, I knew how to train my body to be ready for those events without ever swimming actually a true full event, which I still find mesmerizing because I even learned that when I prepared myself for running a half marathon. Like, you never have to actually run the half marathon while you're training for it. You just have to build up your body's ability to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like with the swimming, like I just worked on my techniques. And I remember someone even commenting at the gym, they were like, all you're doing, because I was using like a little kickboard and I was, just doing like drills, and they're just like, well, why are you just doing that? And it's like, well, my coach who coached 3 Olympians, I think he knows what he was talking about. And this is what we always focused on: technique and stretching and getting our bodies ready. And I think that is why I love, why I think a coach is so important. I think it helps focus. It helps us keep us focused. It helps us direct us in, guiding us in the right direction. I think sometimes we get off, like weight loss is a perfect example because there's so much that can be thrown at you. I mean, we just got, we just ended the month where so many people start a New Year's resolution to lose weight and they join gyms and they do that. And then before January is even over, they've dropped the gym. They've dropped going. I mean, I remember when I was going to the gym pretty heavily, and I remember not even wanting to go to the gym for like the first 3 weeks of the year because of, like, there were so many people that were going. But I knew that after those 3 weeks, it would get back to the normal group, the
Yeah.
people that really were wanting to actually make a difference in themselves. But you're teaching me already, it's so much more really about what we're putting in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And I it's just so fascinating. I mean, I'm, as I said, just a few minutes ago, like I'm learning so much. My brain's like, oh my gosh. I know for me personally, I am going to have to re-listen to this podcast episode to come back and realize, like, oh my gosh, there's so much good, information. So, what advice would you give to someone considering hiring a coach, for either personal or, professional growth, regardless of the niche? And we kind of said a little bit, just right there, but maybe you can expand on that.
Well, one of the biggest transformations I had, um, little side story, my husband had committed suicide in 2011. And I didn't know where to go from there because it was a very traumatic, it was a very long marriage that I didn't think that I could ever get out of. And I didn't understand, I was caught in a lot of stress. There was a lot of stress. There was a lot of sleep deprivation. My body was shutting down. I was having so many things. Well, I didn't know how to get out of that marriage. And when I finally asked, I basically said to the universe, bring me the next best thing. I don't know what it looks like, but bring it to me. And over the course of that month, things kind of progressed and it ended that he took his life. And right after that, it was like, okay, I don't know how to heal, but I knew I wanted to. And I had a friend of mine said, well, there's this coach that I think that you should talk to. And I'm like, I ain't gonna, what do I want to talk to a coach for? And it was just like, she lived in Vegas and I live in Washington. And she goes, just call her and see what you think. I'm like, all right, I'll give her a chance. So she was a medical intuitive, and I had called her and I said, all right, I was recommended to talk to you. And she goes, all right. And we did it. She goes, let me just ask you a few questions. Well, she started asking me a few questions. And once I answered, she goes, okay, now I want you to picture something in your head of what made you angry. And I'm like, all right. So I visualized something that was making me feel very angry. And it was something that he had always done. And she goes, all right, I see this. And she described exactly what I was seeing in my head. I'm like, how did you do that? Okay, you're like hundreds of miles away from me. How did you see that in my head? And so I ended up hiring her because she was the very first person that got me to cry. And I didn't cry for probably, I don't know, 30 some, maybe 40 years by then. I really did not know how to cry because I had locked it all up inside. And that was one of the things that I locked up my emotions. I locked up my feelings. I didn't think it was safe to cry. So I had all these emotions locked up. And she was the first person that was able to crack that open and let me cry. And over the course of, I hired her for about a year, and we once a week we got on the phone and we talked, and the things that came up were just incredible. So that was my first experience with a coach, and I know that I don't think I would be as far along if I hadn't hired her first. And then over the course of the last 14 years, I have hired other coaches, and then I started having really bad panic attacks about 3 years ago, and I had been cleaning houses for about 17 years, and I loved it. But then it got to where every time I went to go to someone's house, I started having a panic attack. And I'm like, all right, there's something here that
Hmm.
why is it that I'm having them going to clean these houses that I left? And I found this anger inside of me that I didn't know how to access. So I hired a EFT practitioner, and I worked with her for 6 months, and we found inner rage that was from my childhood that we dug out. And it was like, I would have never known. And she kept we poked at it. We poked at it. And she's like, there's rage in there. There's anger in there. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm always happy. I'm good. I'm good to go. And she's like, no, it's there. She goes, it is so buried in there. She goes, we need to break that thing right open. And when we did, I found that I felt like I screamed for 20 minutes of the anger that came out of me. And I went and actually looked at that video back, and I screamed for no more than 90 seconds. And from the
Oh,
studies
wow.
that I have read, and I have read every book I can get my hands on how emotion is stored in our bodies, and emotion only stays in our body for 90 seconds.
Oh,
And
wow.
we
Okay.
stop it before it gets a chance to finish. And that's something that we don't talk about. There's not a lot of people that talk about it. It's like, if you're going to cry, cry. And usually you're only crying for about 90 seconds. That's all you need is 90 seconds of feeling. And when I look back on that video and I'm like, oh my God, but I felt like I screamed for good 20 minutes. But it was literally, I mean, it was under 90 seconds that I watched that. And it was like, that was just blew my mind. And then it was shortly after that was like, I have to do this. I have to help other women. They shouldn't be stuck in this, but hiring a coach was the best thing that I ever did. And I'm like, I can't wait to help other women do, let go of this stuff so they can feel really good. And I find that it's really interesting because I ask my friends, it's like, do you see any difference in me? And they're like, we have watched you transform so much, from just and hearing their descriptions of how I have changed. It's like, I never saw that. But they're like, yeah. And it's like, that's because I hired a coach myself. And I was willing to do the work that my coach told me to do and feel
Nice.
all that. So if you have an opportunity to have someone help you be better, do better, feel better, I'd grab that fast.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say, I mean, oh my goodness, yes, 100%. Like, yeah, I think and I know a lot of people, unfortunately or fortunately, it depends on, there are a lot of people that would rather sometimes maybe go to a therapist instead of a coach, because there's still kind of the thing with coaches. They're like, well, but you're not really like, so like I have some really good friends that are therapists, but and then think, oh, because they did all this schooling. But you even mentioned earlier, like, you went to the life coach, like, we've done the research, we have the experience. It's like, trust us. We're not doing this just because we want to do this. As we said earlier, I mean, there's definitely been a period of time where there were probably some very shady coaches out there. But the funny thing is, one of the most popular coaches to this day that so many people listen to, and he's still insanely popular, is Tony Robbins. I mean, he's still doing what he's doing, and people are still listening to it. And so many coaches, including one that we know, Xander, they reference. Like, there's a reason people reference what he said and what we even do on our daily basis with our different clients, because it works. And it's just like, I mean, I know that I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have a coach, helped me over the years. And I knew that, kind of like you, that I wanted to help people. I wanted to help from my past experiences, to be able to help people get to where they want to be. Like, with me, I help, my biggest, my niche is LGBTQ plus professionals. But, I mean, I'm going to help everyone, but they're a very marginalized community, and I want to be able to help the people. And you can, in a way, like with you, I would say, like, a lot of times, and you gave the perfect example on the weight loss, like, research, it wasn't even done with women. Like, talk about, like, kind of falsified information that's being put out there, because it's not really showing, what women have experienced. And I think it's huge that you're doing what you're doing, because you've done the research, you've had the experience, you had the great experience for yourself, and then for even family members. And then now you're helping many people. You've gone on to help, many, many more people. And that's just so awesome. So I am going to have some fun with you. I didn't give you these because I like to keep people on their feet. Like quick, these are just to be some fun, quick questions. And we'll see what you say. I had a very interesting responses with our friend Emily. I really liked what she's had to say. So, if you could coach any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Mm. I have to go with the first person that entered my mind. That's actually Einstein.
Okay, that is so weird because you both said that.
Are you kidding me?
That's really, really funny. Oh my goodness, that is awesome. That is so awesome. Okay, so why? Why would you want to?
Well, I have done a lot of research on Einstein, and I, listen about a lot of the stuff that he did, and just the way he activated his mind and his theta thinking, and just being able to access that. And it's like, I not only would I want to know more of how he did things, but how he decided to do things, and I would just want to comb his hair.
That's so awesome. You definitely will have to hear Emily's episode because she really did. She said Einstein, and
Oh, that's so funny.
that is so funny. Okay, so I am gonna not ask the same question. I have kind of three rotating questions, but I'm not gonna ask you the second one that I asked her, but because I want to ask, if you had to describe your coaching style in 3 words, what would they be?
Mm. Well, I like to have make it fun. Um, I like to add a lot of gratitude, and I don't know, I just have a goofy way of looking at things. Um, but I do like to, I like to go back to the basics from the beginning. It's like, what are you doing first? And I like to, I don't know, I have an ability to be able to look at somebody's whole, everything that they're doing, and I can see the whole picture, and I can look at it and go, oh, I know exactly, do this one little tweak right here. And I just have this kind of weird ability to be able to see what they're doing and one little thing that they can tweak. Um, so I don't know, there a little bit empath ability, but a lot of joy. I want it to be fun. I want it to be easy. And so I guess that's probably it. And there is a little part of me that says there's a little bit of sarcasm in there too, but some people can't handle a lot of the sarcasm. But I grew up with sarcasm and being a little snarky, but you can't be snarky as a coach, but there is still, I find humor in a lot of things. So I want it to be fun, and I want it to be simple.
Nice. Okay, I'm actually going to have to ask you the question just because, well, because I think this is good because based on what you do, and how you help people. So, what is one daily habit that you can't live without?
Hmm. Well, my very first habit I do in the morning is I do not leave my bedroom until my bed is made,
Very
ever.
nice.
I
So,
mean,
why is that? Just out of curiosity.
well, there's something about going to bed at night and climbing in that freshly made bed, that everything is like, the sheets are perfect, everything is just, and I even get annoyed when my husband goes in and takes a nap in the middle of the day and he messes up the bedspread. He doesn't sleep in the bed,
Yeah.
but he lays on top of the bed. And I have to go in there and I have to straighten it. And it's like, I don't want to come to bed if it's all messy. So I don't know. I don't even know where that came from. But that's how I start my morning. And then I start it. Next is a meditation. before I even have my coffee. I have my, my warm water, but it's like if I don't have those things, my whole day seems to be thrown off. And the only day I don't make my bed first thing in the morning is on Sunday because I changed my sheets. But yeah, I make my bed every single day.
Nice. No, it's huge. Like they actually say it's actually really good for you to always make your bed. And I can tell you that um I'm the last one to get up in the morning because my partner works starting at like 6 a.m. So um sometimes earlier than that. So I'm the second one to get out of bed, but I always make the bed. Like I have to. Like there is something about it. Um I don't know. Even especially if I go back into the bedroom later in the day, if it was messy and wasn't made, it would stress me out. I'd just be like, no, 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 no. It has to be like organized. It just, I am the same way though. If I nap though, if I would happen to go and take a nap in the afternoon, I will reset it up. It has to be like perfect and like looking out clean lines, everything. It just that's just how I am. I mean, little OCD there. But no, that's really funny. I'm in awe with your historical figure question, like answer. That is so funny. I can't wait to see. I mean, um, here's to all those other coaches I'm talking to. You can't say Einstein anymore. Um, has to be someone else now. I mean, that's really funny that you said it because, yeah, seriously, Emily said the exact same thing, and it just made. But now for different reasons, because of course, being a an academic, she was going more on the academic side of it, where it was kind of funny that but and I love the hair. You cracked me up. You want to? That is so awesome.
I do.
So
I have to say something about the hair. There is something I have a fascination with people's hair, and I will. A lot of people like colored people. They have the curly hair, and I always go up to them and I'm like, can I touch it? Can I touch it? And I'm like, can I touch your hair? Can I just rub my fingers through it? And they always say no, But there have been a few of them. They say, okay, you can touch it just a little bit. But I want to tell a little funny story real quick if I can.
of course.
I went on a cruise. I don't know, it was like 10 years ago. And when I'm on the cruise, I go around and I talk to like everybody that is on the cruise. I don't care who you are. I will tell you you're beautiful. I will give you a compliment. I'm like, can I hug you? So I talk to everybody. And there was this Indian couple, and this man had the most beautiful, well groomed beard that had the swirls, and he wore his headband, and I kept running into him all over the ship. It was like every time I turned around he was there. And I asked him from the beginning of the cruise, can I touch your beard? And he acted like I was about ready to attack him. He's like, no, and he would coil back and he would not let me near him. And I was just like, all right, I thought I'd just ask, So every time it became our thing. So I probably asked him like 20 times in that cruise. Every time I ran into him and I asked him, I said, can I touch your beard? And his wife would just laugh. She thought his reaction was so funny because it was like perfect. It never moved. It was like they had this gel in it that just made it very firm. And the very last day of the cruise, we ended up in the elevator together, and I turned around and I just started laughing and I went, can I touch it now? And he looks at me and he goes, okay. And he let me touch it. And he just stood there and he put his face out and I touched it and it was rock hard, and it was perfect. And I just very carefully touched it. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I said, can I hug you for that? And he let me hug him, and his wife was just beaming, but I worked on him all week long, and I just had so much fun with him. But by the end of it, he was just like, oh, you really want to touch my beard? And I was like, can I just touch it, please?
That is so funny. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I have learned a lot. I guarantee you others are going to learn a lot who listen in. So I'm going to ask you, what is there one key piece of advice or tip that you would give to my audience?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is don't take life so damn seriously. and quit following all the rules of other people and start listening to yourself.
Which I think is huge for, especially, like, I mean, like you said, listening to your body. Like, we need to listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
I think we're so used to listening to the noise.
Well, there's so much chaos out there, and there's so many people that want you to do these things, but they don't explain why.
Yeah.
And we think that there's a hack for everything. And then when people are like, "Well, how did you lose the weight?" And I'm like, "Well, I ate really well, and I took care of my body, and I drank water." And they're like, "Well, no, really, what did you do?" And it's like, that's what I did. I went back to the basics. And that's one thing that people are like, "Oh my God, I'm not losing weight. They're so frustrated." It's like, but what are you doing now? Let's
Yeah.
look at what you're doing now. You have to go back to the basics. And if you don't know what you're doing now, you can't fix it. If you want a habit to change, you have to change the habit. But if you don't change that habit, you're still choosing to stay there.
Yeah.
So, people don't listen to themselves. And if anybody's familiar with Louise Hay, she talks about if you're going to clean house, you have to see the dirt. And if you don't know what's inside and what you're doing now, you can't clean it. You can't fix it.
Nice. I like that. Great advice. All right. So, my fellow listeners, I encourage you to subscribe, rate, or review my podcast. I really please do. I'm here about wanting to get better, but also I want you to be able to reach out to Shelly. And if you are in that position where you've had that frustration of the weight loss, ladies, I'm talking to you because that's her expertise. And you can find her on Facebook and Instagram. I will put those links in the show notes so you guys can find that. Just a little tout myself. I'm a career coach. Obviously, Shelly and I do not do the same thing, but at the end of the day, we're here to help people. That is what our passion is. We want to help people be their best selves. And I know with me, I really focus on the LGBTQ plus community because I am a member of that community, and I want my clients and you out there to be able to be your authentic self. And I really think that does it goes hand in hand with you, Shelly. Like, you are helping women to be their authentic selves, to be happy with themselves, to be able to proudly show themselves off. Like you mentioned with, earlier about, going to the funeral and looking at yourself and you saw the pictures and you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't, you didn't like what you looked like. I mean, we have to like what we have to enjoy and like ourselves, not just on the outside though, but also on the inside. Because that is so important. And
Absolutely.
I think, I know that many people are going to get, so much out of this episode because of, our conversation today. And so I thank you so much. It's been so much fun. It's been way too long since we've chatted. Um, it really has. I had to tell Emily the same thing. Oh my goodness. I think the holidays, I was enjoying life is really what I was doing. I mean, my niece, um, officially, of course, when we're taping this is actually her first birthday. February 1st is actually, she is 1 year old today. I cannot believe it's been a year. It so blows my mind that it's been a year. But I have learned through my coaching experience, and especially talking with other fellow coaches, is like, you have to enjoy life. And I think I've learned it also a little bit as I've gotten older. You have to live life for yourselves. You're not living life for others. It's your life for a reason. And it's the same thing where I help my clients. You need to be where you want to work that's going to help and benefit you. we don't need to always make all these execs rich. We need to help ourselves be happy where we're going and being ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
And I think that's so huge and so important. So thank you again. So I don't know what's happening in the next episode, so I can't really tell what's going to happen because it's going to come about. So, but I can tell you that you will be able to hear, more awesome interviews with, other coaches. I have many lined up, so we'll see what comes about. But I want to thank everyone for joining us today on Empowered and Out. And I hope that today's episode left you feeling inspired and ready to take your weight loss journey to another level. And on my end of it, on the career side of it, taking it to the next level to be our authentic self. And I think that actually works on both sides of the weight loss and for the coach, career coaching.
Absolutely.
And if you enjoyed this episode today, obviously, again, I can't say it enough. Consider subscribing, listening, reviewing. My goal is to have, 4 episodes a month. I know that's a lot, but on the other hand, there's so much that needs to be said and shared. And Shelly and I love coaching people. Like, it's our passion. We love helping people. And I hope that you will consider, if you're in that position, to reach out to us. And as I said, Shelly's information will be in the show notes, so you can actually reach out to her that way. I'm gonna tell you, you got to see her coffee posts. They're very entertaining. I love it. I was telling her off air, like, I look forward to those episodes or those reels or those, whatever happens to be. And, we need humor in our lives every day. I think it's important. I know that I'm huge about posting positive motivation. And at the end of the day, yes, we need the positivity, but we also need to know how to have fun.
Oh, fun is absolutely essential.
So I thank everyone. Thank you so much. Until next time, keep showing up, keep owning your path, and remember, you deserve a life where you can truly be yourself. Stay proud, stay empowered, and we'll see you back here soon.
Thank you.